All right, Reggie, fast forward, right? You've gotten out of school in high school. You've gone to Vanderbilt. You've got your business degree. You're starting a business. You are on top of the world, man. Everything is working for you. You're married. Things are going great. But you got some demons lurking inside there, man.
Man,
You got some
that's
things
real.
that are bugging you, and you had a breakdown.
Yeah.
Talk to me
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah. I had this mentor that I followed for a really long time. And he's somebody that I knew I could touch. He was a black man who achieved success coming from similar background as I did. Talking selling companies for 20, 30, 40 million dollars, multiple, like selling companies that he had built. And fast forward, I want to say about 54, 56 maybe. I get a call that he's died by suicide. And from the outside looking in, it's like a man who has achieved all the success in the world. Or you look at that and you're like, that man must be happy. Everything about that man's life must be going well. And this came after my breakdown. And I'm thankful that I had the realization in my own personal life to reprioritize things and redefine success for myself. And so I was 27 years old, experiencing a lot of success from the traditional sense. I had started this business. I'm working with professional athletes and doctors and lawyers, managing money, doing things that people who had come before me had never even imagined, but doing things that a lot of people in this world have no opportunity to do. And I remember, getting nominated for these awards, and I'm nominated for Forbes 30 under 30, and I'm sitting there getting these congratulatory messages, and I'm laying on the ground on the floor playing with the dog, and next thing you know, I started laughing, and then I started crying, and then I started whispering, and I then lost complete sense of where I was at. And all these thoughts and memories and experiences just bombarded my brain, and all of that tried to come out. And it was just like a vomit of words that I couldn't make sense. And I remember telling my wife, I had these moments where I would just go, I don't know what I just said. And then I'd go on a tirade of just talk, laugh, cry, laugh, emotions everywhere. I don't know what I just said. And then I had this out of body experience where I saw myself and I said, how in the world did you end up here? You did nearly everything right. Right? Not to say I didn't make any mistakes. That's a part of growth. Not to say I didn't hurt anybody. That's a part of life. But from the grand scheme of things, I had done everything right. And I was on the floor in the most miserable state that I had ever been in. Leading up to that moment, I had barely any sleep for 30 days. And so I know that played a role in it. And the grief, the depression, the anxiety that I was dealing with, and not even anxiety from work. It wasn't that. That was taking care of itself. It was anxiety that I couldn't control. I didn't know true anxiety until that period of time. But I had lost a lot of people. I had lost the nurturers in my life. I lost my mom. I had lost my dad. And I was lost. I lost myself. And I didn't know which way was up. And I got up that night after not sleeping for about 30 days. I finally got some sleep. And I went to my primary care doctor. I went to a grief counselor. I sought help. I was like, I need help. And that was one of the hardest things for me because I had become so self-reliant. Because when that little baby who was born to that 14-year-old mother had needs and worries and cries, and the baby didn't get comforted the way that babies are supposed to get comforted. And so what I did early on was I internalized that I need to help myself and nobody else is going to help me. And so I did that for myself. And that's what I continued to do. And the words "I need help" never came out of my mouth until that day when I felt broken, when I felt that I was at the lowest that I had ever been. Rock bottom for me looked a lot different than rock bottom for a lot of people. And I needed help. And I sought that out. And that has been one of the most fulfilling and rewarding experiences that I've ever done, of walking into a therapist's office, of talking to a doctor about my own depression and my own anxiety, something that I had never done before. And I'll tell a story about that. Before my grandmother passed away, there was chaos within the family. There was a lot of strife, and I was starting to feel it. I'm like, whew, she's gonna be gone. Like she has a terminal diagnosis of brain cancer. We know that's gonna happen at some point, hopefully longer than they've told us. And I went to my primary care doctor at the time, which was a white male, and he asked me a couple questions, and I'm, answering, is there people in your life? Is this happening? Is that? And yeah. I think you're going to be fine. And I remember walking out of that doctor's office so unseen, so misunderstood. And to me, just saying, I think I'm going to be depressed, or I am depressed, was like walking into that office with my heart hanging from one artery out of my chest.
Yeah.
And I think I say that he was a white male explicitly because I think just culturally it may have been different for him, right? To hear that, oh, these people are in your lives, but for a black man to show up and say that I need that, or I feel that, was the ultimate act of vulnerability for me at that time. And I felt that it wasn't taken seriously. And so I advocated for myself. I found another doctor. I went to a black woman who knew that was rare. To see me show up and talk the way that I did, she knew that was rare. And she got me a lot of help. And again, therapists. I tried, let me talk about that because I think it's important. I tried medicine for the first time, antidepressant. It wasn't good for me. The one in particular wasn't good for me. I actually felt suicidal for the first time in my life on the medicine. And I don't say that to discourage people from trying it. I think you have to experiment with what helps you. Therapy, meditation, walking, exercising, like all these different things. Medication helps a lot of people. So I'm not down dissing medication, but for me, I had to recognize that. I had to feel that and know I didn't want to experience that. And I could have tried a different one and things, but I hadn't exhausted my options prior to that. And so I wanted to do that. And, so many different modalities of therapy, so many different healers in my life, practice yoga, meditation, and, things look a lot different than they did. That was just in 2019. So, yeah.
Thank you for the story. Thank you for laying that out. I want to get into the self-care because that's really where your bread and butter is when you're talking about helping people today. Before that, though, if there's a dad or a man that's feeling kind of similar feelings to what you did when you were on that high, when you were starting to doubt yourself, what are some things to both recognize, man, I might be going down this spiral, to pull yourself out? And what are some things to stop that and not get to rock bottom so that they can pick themselves up?
Yes, great question, Ryan. I think we all have responses and trauma responses or just responses to stress. And for me, a long time in my life, mine was perfectionism. It was people pleasing, caretaking in a way that abandoned myself, and being a workaholic. And I think that those things, if you just look at that, like perfectionist, he's pleasing other people, he's working hard, he's taking care of other people. Those things are celebrated in the world. And so it's hard to recognize those as negative things that are happening to us. But I would say the first step is becoming aware of what your responses are. For some, it may be the irritability. For some, it may be turning to substances. For some, it may be the same things that were impacting me, and recognize when those start to amplify. I know when I am working, If it's late night and now I got a headache because I've been staring at this computer screen for too long, like that is an indication for me that I may be falling back into some of those patterns, and to check in with what has happened in these last several weeks, months, that is putting me in this. Because I know now, with the awareness that I have and the resources that I have, that I avoid that. Like I avoid that burnout. I avoid that perfectionism. I avoid the workaholic tendencies. And so I say avoid. That's a good wow. Let me sit on that for a minute. I'm aware of them, and I manage them. Because I think we do avoid a lot of things without feeling them. I feel them, I reflect on them, and I manage through them. And so I would say figuring out what those things are in your life. And sometimes it takes sitting down, journaling, and becoming aware that way. Other times it takes another person, an outside perspective, looking in and saying, I can tell when you are not feeling well because this, and this happens. And taking that not as criticism, but just as information of, okay, let me see if I can notice when those things come up so that I can course correct. And then I would say, lastly, in terms of building that awareness and information about ourselves, is listen to the body. Like the body is wise, and the body knows. You may get around a certain person who has said a certain thing about you, and your heart starts to race. Or you can't explain why your fists are balled up at the end of a meeting, like all these different things, right? Our jaws clench, and there's pain, there's chronic pain somewhere because of how you show up. Like, listen to your body and listen to what it's telling you, and let that be an indication to help build the awareness. But I think understanding what those responses are, first and foremost, are the awareness is key.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And becoming aware, that's where you mentioned it briefly, right? Things like meditation. If you're training your mind to notice when it's wandering, then you'll be able to notice in the day, oh man, my fists are clenched. My jaw is super tight. I'm taking one or two more beers in the evening than I used to. These little subtle things, get up, work out, just do something to break yourself out of that cycle that you're in to really begin to move forward.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's very helpful.